Hey, I'm Warren Sprouse. This is the Bible Forum. We're here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Would love for you to join us. Join us at thebibleforum.net and send me an email. Tell me that you're paying attention. I'll put your name on the list. I'll send you an email. Every week I send out an email. That's what it looks, got my picture on it. It's the only thing I send you. It's just once a week. And, just let you know what's going on. That's all. I'm not going to bug you for anything. Did you watch the Democrat debate this past week? I don't have cable TV. I don't know if you do or not. Here you are sitting around on a Sunday evening watching me on the internet, so you probably don't. More and more people are divesting themselves of cable TV. But it was streamed on CNN for free. You didn't know that? What you have to do from now on, when stuff comes up that these different groups are running, go to their website and see what they're doing. Fox streamed theirs for free as well. And I think they will continue to do that, all of them. We're getting away from cable TV. We're moving to the internet. That's where everything is. I did this show for 16 years on the radio. Terrestrial radio, it was called. For 15 of those years, I streamed online. I was streaming online in the year 2000, audio. And by 2007, I think it was video. Some of these people are just catching up, but it's moving in that direction. Who wants to pay $100 for a cable bill to get 3 channels you like? And they call me every once in a while, and I tell them, I say, if you give me the 5 channels I ask for, I will pay you $10 a month per channel. 5 channels, I give you $50 for the ones I want. Otherwise, Netflix, Roku, more and more, you can get whatever you want, and you can get it that way. But if you saw that debate, you saw the future. Barry Sanders has raised as much money as Hillary. They both have raised in the low 20 millions. But Bernie Sanders, 4% of his donors are giving $200 or less. How many people does it take to make $23 million at $200 or less? That's a bunch of people. Hillary, hers is 17%. She's got the big donors. No candidate on either side comes anywhere close to what Sanders is doing. And everybody you talk to says, well, Bernie Sanders is a socialist, and Americans are not going to vote for socialists. Have you seen the man on the street interviews that the comedians do? They go out with a microphone. Bill O'Reilly does it. The late night guys do. Have you seen this stuff? Who's the vice president of the United States? Oh, gee, I don't know. How many different parts of government do we have? What kind of a government? What's that called? Does anybody know? Nobody knows. The electorate is ignorant, to say the least. The recent Democrat candidate debate looked like a rush to the left. I'm going my left to your right, to the left. Each of the candidates seemed to be trying to look the most liberal when it came to economic issues, social issues, as was possible. None of them seemed to have any idea how life works. They didn't seem to have any idea how systems really work. Unless they do understand, and they are just completely amoral. I want what I want. I want to get elected. I want to be, see my stuff. And I don't care about you people. I don't care if that's right, wrong, or indifferent. I just think this is good and I want it. Or they are intent on destroying our social structure, because that's what their policies suggest. On the financial side of it, the federal government collects $3.5 trillion every year. State and local governments collect another $3 trillion. That's 6.5. Over the past 20 years, federal spending has grown 63% faster than inflation. Today, our national debt is more than 5 times our annual income, and 2/3 of that has come in the last 7 years. This is equivalent to a family earning $50,000 a year and accumulating a credit card debt of over $250,000. They can't do anything but pay the interest on it. And that's all we're doing as a government. Imagine now that family sitting down and deciding to add an additional $20,000 of debt every year for the next 10 years for no reason other than that they want to live at a higher level. They want to be able to do these extra things that are right, good, and fun. I think any rational human being would conclude that these people are irresponsible. And if they're not irresponsible, they're brain dead. But that's exactly what Bernie Sanders was suggesting. That's exactly what the Democrat candidates were suggesting, not as in dramatic a fashion as Bernie. And they did it with a straight face. They did it in all seriousness. Because if they were elected president, that's exactly what they would do. Sanders suggested $1.8 trillion of additional spending every year for the next 10 years. Take the $18 trillion debt we have and double it over the next 10 years. For what? To make sure every American had free health care. To make sure every American had free college education. To make sure everybody who wanted to work had a job that paid at least $15 an hour. Why? Not because we can afford it, because we surely cannot, but because it's the right thing to do. Do you know what that makes me? It makes me 6 kinds of bad guy, because I don't want to do that. Well, it's the right thing to do. Is it really? Think about it. That's enough. It's not the right thing to do. You will impoverish everybody so that we are all living like paupers with nothing. Now, the free college education, I don't know why we're not doing that. I think we have a moral obligation to give every child in this country who wants one a free undergraduate degree, especially if it's a bachelor's degree in what? Arts? What? Another story. And my thinking is that we have so destroyed our educational system, the kids graduating high school don't have an education. My parents were better educated in 8th grade than college graduates are today. The ones that didn't major in a science or some kind of a skill. I used to work for Barnes & Noble. I interviewed a guy willing to work. He was applying for a job that paid $5 an hour. This is 25 years ago. He had a master's degree in French medieval poetry. And I asked him the only question that made sense. Why? Well, I like it. So what does it equip you for? What are you trained to do? Well, I don't know, I guess teach. That's it. We're not educating our children. They can't read, they can't write, they can't add and subtract, they don't know what time it is. We ought to at least give them 4 more years in a structured environment. Maybe they'll get an 8th grade education before it's all done. We have robbed them. The smartest thing I heard this week was one of the candidates, I forget which one, said we need to go back and let the states run this educational system. No, we need to go back and let the communities run the educational system and subsidize it. That's what we ought to do. Over half of all Americans are living at an economic level less than they were 40 years ago. The Southern Education Foundation estimates that half of all school children in America now come from what they call low-income families. Half. LBJ's Great Society policy reduced poverty in America by 6%. And it has stayed there for the last 60 years, despite increased government spending. During that same time period, government spending just for low-income housing increased by over 500%. While Social Security and Medicare increased more than 1,700%. Now, it ought to be clear to any rational person that government spending is not solving any problems. But the Democrat candidates don't seem to get that. Do they not read? Are they a little stupid? They have problems? No. They're advocating more government spending in order to make our society what? Better off? More equal? And that's the cry. The diversity, blah, 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 you know, they've got to hide a lot of people, rich people, poor people. It's not fair. They want everybody to be the same. At what level? At the Bernie Sanders level? He went to work for government. That's how he made his money. No, they want everybody at the low level. Sheep. And the 2% that make all the money, they'll live in the penthouse. You'll live in public housing. Name a country where socialism has done anything to benefit the common person. Russian socialism means getting to the grocery store as soon after a delivery as possible or face empty shelves. Have you seen the cars that people in Russia drive? The cars that were made by Russian workers who have no incentive to do better. Russians don't like Russian cars. They don't work well. British and Canadian socialism means waiting months just to see a cancer doctor to get a diagnosis. A listener to this show years ago in Canada called to say that she had been told by her doctor that he thought she had liver cancer. She called the specialist to get an appointment. It was going to be 6 months to get in to see if the doctor was right. She bought a ticket and went to Michigan. And then when you get the diagnosis, how long before you get treatment? And what kind of treatment do you get? If we follow after the Bernie Sanders and the Hillary Clintons and any of these other people, and there are Republicans out there that aren't a whole lot better, we're going to all be equal. We're not going to be equal at the top 1%. Those 146,000 households that earn most of the money in this country and also pay the lion's share of the taxes will continue to be wealthy. everybody else will be poor. What's $100,000 in taxes to somebody making $10 million a year? Oh, they complain about it. How does that compare with a person paying $4,000 on a $40,000 salary? Not to mention the state and the local taxes and the health care. Do you really think multimillionaires have health insurance? Have you ever dealt with an insurance company during a serious illness? A friend of this show out in Phoenix, Arizona just went through it. Had a serious heart problem, was in the hospital. Was happy with his insurance carrier, Blue Cross I think it was, or something like it. Company paid for it, and he was tickled to death. They paid for everything. Until the day came when they said, you have 5 days and we're going to stop paying. Yeah, but I'm not well. We're not paying anymore. And he had to leave the hospital. He didn't think he would make it. And he lived in an apartment at the top of the stairs. He had to walk up the stairs. He wasn't sure that was going to happen. Everything these candidates are suggesting is smoke and mirrors. They're promising the moon. But what they're going to give you is a VA-style medical care. The Veterans Administration, you read about them? That's the kind of thing you're going to get when they get to be in charge of the medical thing. And we've got doctors that are retiring like crazy. And the new ones coming up are not enough to replace them. Doctors that they're going into the medical field are going into what they call the soft disciplines, the soft areas. They're not going into the serious areas of surgery and technical whatever at the same rate. We're going to be in trouble. We're going to have a chicken in every pot. I don't think so. We can't afford the pot because of these giveaway policies that we keep voting for people to do. That's how they get elected. The people in the streets advocating for more government solutions have nothing to lose. They're in the process of making policy for the rest of us. But it's how elections are worked. It's how they're won. It hasn't been about reality in my lifetime. LBJ was elected to end the Vietnam War in 1964. That worked, didn't it? Senator Barry Goldwater advocated doing just that. Go in and win that war. And they ran an ad against him showing a little daisy in a field and a nuclear bomb. And then they showed you a child. I stood on the boardwalk in Atlantic City in 1963. Outside the convention hall where the Democrats were going to have their convention the next week. And as I looked north, there was a pier that stuck out into the ocean. I don't know which one it was. And as soon as that pier went out, like a restaurant area, had a big roof and whatever, there was a sign. Ronald Reagan coined the slogan for Barry Goldwater. And on the sign it said, "In your heart, you know he's right. Vote for Barry Goldwater." And I laughed. I thought, that's cute. The next time I saw that sign, days later, somebody had put next to it, "Yes, far right." And with that slogan and with that commercial, LBJ got elected president. And we lost 50,000 men and women before that war ended, 10 years later. And it ended in disgrace. The battle is one of pandering. Who can promise the most to the most? The cost isn't important. It's only the numbers. A few billion here and a few billion there, and pretty soon we're talking some serious money. Pandering is immoral, especially when it's feathering your own nest at the expense of other people. That's clearly what our politics is in this country, on both sides of the aisle. Candidates spending a ton of money just to learn where the electorate is and then run around and get in front of them. Listen to the electioneering slogans. At the end of the age, the Bible picture is that of a global tyrant dominating the Western world. Except for the few who rebel and die, the majority seem to be okay with it. Why? Because he's taking care of them. Well, yeah, he's a tyrant, but he's our tyrant. Our world is sliding into a dumper, and we're not paying any attention to it. Do you really think the millennials are caring about this election at all? Their parents didn't. And they don't know. And they don't care. Somebody will get them juiced up over something at the end and they'll go vote. They have no idea what they're voting for. How many of your friends watch the news or care about it? How many look into current events, global events, economic events? These things are all trivial in our minds. I can't change it. And hasn't it always been like this? Hasn't it always been a serious problem? And it always seems to work out, so why worry? This is how we know we're in the end times. The prediction in the Bible is that at the end of the age, the slogan will be peace and safety. That's what the people will want, peace and safety at any cost. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, both in the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write to you, for you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Read the rest of that chapter, 1 Thessalonians 5. Think about it.